People who've worked for scam call centers. Did you know? And if you didn't stayed. Why? Worked at one place when I was 19 or so that did public radio pledge renewals. Turned out the boss wasn't actually giving that money to anyone. Just kept it. Bunch of suits and uniforms showed up and arrested him. Shut the company down in the middle of the workday. No idea if he was ever convicted or what might have happened to him afterward. Worked for an environmental non-profit as a teen doing calls and going door to door. I didn't really understand the legislation we were getting signatures for, but hey, it's good for the environment. A very nice hippie lady invited me in and explained that the non-profit I was working for was financed by the oil companies and was trying to backdoor a way to remove any liability for spills in the Gulf. I did some research and sure enough, that was indeed the case. Told everyone in my office. About half were horrified and the other were like, it's a live-in our left, and so did many others. It was a trash place to work anyway, as you were paid by how much you brought in donations. A long time ago, like in the early 1980s, I got a job at a call center. I was about 21 at the time. There were 5 or 6 of us who started the same day. The deal was we were selling discount photocopy paper and toner. Back in the day, toner powder was poured into a reservoir by the user. The call center manager gave us several scripts but encouraged us to ad-lib once we got the hang of it. We were to call businesses from a list they had generated. A typical narrative would say that due to some accident, duplicate order, trucking accident, bankruptcy, etc. We had tons of surplus toner or paper. Whenever we first mentioned toner, we were told to say, you know, that black messy stuff you put in your copier, as kind of a folksy hook, and were to refer to Xerox, HP and Canon as the big 3. At this point, we were told and believed that the supplier bought bulk supplies from real accidents, bankruptcies and overstocked items, so basically the scripted narratives were mostly true. In truth, we were just an order placer for bulk wholesalers of supplies. There were no accidents, mistakes or bankruptcies involved. But apparently these lies helped people believe they were getting a deal. The first day I didn't do any live calls. Just training, role playing and practice with a sales trainer and instruction on how to process orders and record calls. Since the pay was 100% commission, this was unpaid work. The second day only 2 of the new hires showed up. It started with a sales huddle, a rah-rah affair where we celebrated the previous day's numbers and top performers and were given the key messages for the day week and told who was pushing paper vs toner. I was put on the toner team. I spent the morning shadowing an experienced salesperson who made several sales each hour, but again, unpaid work for me. Then was given a headset, a list and an order book after lunch. I made my first sale on about the 3rd call. Huge cheer. I was a star for 30 seconds. But then nothing the rest of the day. So basically I made about $10. After work I saw a fellow salesman waiting for a bus. So I offered him a ride to get the scoop on the company because I was having some doubts. He basically said he had just quit and the whole business was a scam. The lists given to the callers were sorted. The top salespeople got pre-qualified leads. The rest got basically random businesses. The one sale I got that day was the plant. Everyone gets one plant on their first day. For every 100 or so calls, you get about 20 that actually listen to your narrative and maybe one that places a small order, and about to stroke 3 of the orders are cancelled almost immediately, so there is no commission. For many of the cancelled orders, their phone number got put on the pre-qualified lists for the top salesmen the next month. He also told me the whole overstock, trucking accident, bankruptcy thing was a big lie. We were just placing orders for a bulk supplier. The prices were cheap because the licensed suppliers had much bigger markups. But that message didn't sell as well. We also had a cheaper, inferior product that would often void the warranty of the manufacturers. 3rd day I didn't show up. If you don't know, sometimes people who are hearing impaired have these special phones that can caption any calls that come through. I used to be a captioning agent and was captioning a scam call. Now at that company we have to caption every single call no matter the context. No exceptions. It was some Middle Eastern sounding guy pretending to call the police to frighten this elderly woman into giving him money. The woman was on the verge of crying, but that bastard would not let up. I was not having it. It's totally against regulation, but I told the lady it's a scam and just stopped captioning in the middle of the call until the dude hung up. F those scammers. The hero we need. I worked for a call center for about a month that bugged people to donate to charities with very similar names to actual charities. But less than 1% of the pledge would actually go towards a charity. When I found this out, I felt anxious about it and left. Basically ghosting on it. No manager or employee of any kind even so much as called once when I missed my next shift. I just stopped showing up and then never heard from anyone again. A few weeks later I got a call to my landline that I don't give out, asking if I wanted to come work for the exact same company. In my head I was like, do you guys even remember that I literally did work there and then just stopped showing up? Oh okay then. Definitely how a legitimate and not shady corporation would act. It wasn't a scam. But I needed a job in college, so I went to the job fair. First booth I approached was the alumni center. Connected with the hiring manager. And got the job on the spot. Come to find out, we had to cold call alumni and ask for a gift to the university. The cherry on top was that I was assigned a list of numbers of alumni who had graduated in the 60s and 70s. Few calls ended with widows upset or crying I was asking for their deceased spouse. I lasted 2 weeks and no called, no showed. Not my proudest moment, but needed out. You're desperate for a job. They call you and it seems legit enough. You go through training and it's fun. The people in your training class are all pretty cool. The managers make you feel special. You think you might actually like this. Then it happens, you get on the phone. First real day of work and after the 5th person hangs up you realize that you are one of those people. How did I not see this before? But your managers are behind you cheering you on. Telling you not to lose steam. Offering free lunches. You get conflicted. You know it's wrong. I worked there 2 days. The 3rd day I came to work, clocked in, looked around and just got up and left. I'd say they know. Yes. Next time you get one of those scam calls about your car's warranty, go ahead and push the button to be connected to a representative. Ask them so you know you're working for a scam company that is making unsolicited robocalls. Right? Best you ever get is a sigh as they continue to read the script. If they don't just outright hang up on you. When I was about 19 I worked for a call center for 3 days. They were scamming everyone including the employees. First, shifts were only 3 hours long and you would be scheduled for 2 of those back to back. This is because if you are scheduled for longer than that you are legally entitled to break time too. If you are scheduled for longer than 3 hours and get cut you have to be paid a minimum of 3 hours. The company would regularly cut you if you weren't bringing in enough money. You were then expected to return for your next shift. I'm sure they screwed people's paychecks somehow, but I walked out in day 3 and abandoned my paycheck. I walked out because that was the day I learned where the money went. See? We weren't selling we were raising money for breast cancer research. The key piece that led me to quit was when I learned that 0.1% of all donations went towards the actual research. The remaining 99.9%. Well, it was lining pockets and funding other centers to scam people. I now only donate directly to a source, and even then only after vetting them. Worked a call center in college. Lasted all of 2 hours. We were collecting for some state trooper support fund or something. And there was a manager circulating on the floor with his own manager's headset where he could come plug in and listen in on your calls. Dude was a tool. Total Colin Farrell's character from Horrible Bosses type, you know that guys. Dark purple dress shirt with skinny black tie. Chain wallet. Bad goatee. Starting to lose his hair at 25. Drives a Sentra with an expensive stereo in it and smells like clove cigarettes, that guy. Cut into a call where this elderly lady went from sorry, I can't contribute anything this year to because I'm having surgery and blah blah, and Todd or Chad or whatever his name was is all bro. You just need to cut people like that off and get to the next call. FM. I just realized that was not what I wanted to spend my time doing. I got hired to work in a loans office on the phone. Incoming calls. Basically they come across like a broker, telling people they qualified for certain loans and we would hook them up. We would then send a text with identical links to apply for loans. Pretty much every text had the same links. We charged them for an on-service. They weren't approved for anything. I hated the idea of working there. I thought I'd just get through the training and consider my options. I was hired by an agency, not the only time I was screwed over by an agency, who assured me that I'd easily make above the lower range of starting wages because I had call center experience. I'd also get to pick my shifts, etc. All lies. Shocker. A place that scams customers also scams employees. They refused to even show me a contract until I had worked for 2 days. I lasted 3 days. And probably wouldn't have stayed so long, but me husband's cousin worked there and thought the place was ace. I sent a scathing resignation email to the agent and the employer. Got a job at a telemarketing place once. First day was told if you are okay scamming people you can make a lot of money. After the intro class we were split in 2 pairs and were told to listen in to the experienced workers. Essentially how it worked was you call into a real company and the scammers would get phone numbers close to the reputable companies. So as you call in and are on hold, you think you are waiting to speak with them. A message would come on with some kind of scam deal. A free trip. $1 subscription for 12 months that costs you hundreds later on. Things like that. The very first call is confused senior, who thought she was waiting to speak with her bank. So she willingly gave out things like her credit card number ect. By the time she clued in and realized it was a scam and asked us not to process the information, the rep hung up on her and was actually laughing. Needless to say, I hopped on a bus home after that to go back to the want ads. I had a friend who worked at a scam call center and he didn't realize it until about 2 weeks after I told him that's what it was. When he first described the job to me, selling encyclopedias, educational books by cold calling. In 2010, I told him it sounds like a scam. Not that he's scamming anyone, but the business owners were. He insisted the owners couldn't be scammers because they're average white Americans. This scam call center was in a major US city. My friend was an American who had never left the USA. I had to pick him up from this job once. It was at some random office park. The owner and his wife were at the front desk, dressed like they were on a tropical vacation. We're nowhere near anywhere tropical. Heavily tanned. Just looked very out of place and kind of sleazy. I got to see the work area, which was a fold-up round table with a bunch of computers around it. The whole place looked like it could be packed up in a very short time and looked very sloppy. After he got in the car I told him the place looks extremely shady. To please quit before it gets raided or something, because while I can't be sure, the owners are probably doing something illegal. He finally quit about a week later. I never figured out what happened to the business. But who the hell was buying books from a random phone call? Even back in 2010?